أشرقت نفسي بنور من فؤادي حينما
ولم يأمرنا النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بقضاء صلاة النفاس. The last narration, Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم did not order us females who were in the state to make qada of our salat. That it follows on the rulings of menstruation. The female in this state, does she make qada of her salawat? The answer is no. From the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that she is not obliged to make up these 5 daily salawat after her menstrual cycle. Certain issues in closing in this chapter, certain issues that we did not mention but are of some importance. What happens to the female whose menstrual cycle begins at 1:30, but the time of Salatul Zuhr ended at 1 p.m. So there was half an hour that she was within the time of Salatul Zuhr, and at 1:30 p.m. her menstrual cycle began. Now the question is, after her menstrual cycle, does she have to make up for that one Salatul Zuhr? According to the strongest opinion, inshaAllah, Wallahu ta'ala a'lam, that she does not have to make up for that Salatul Zuhr. But the question might be, 30 minutes, she was within the time of Salatul Zuhr. Did Salatul Zuhr not become fard upon her? Our answer is that she did not fall short in any of her actions. She did not delay Salatul Zuhr by 30 minutes because she knew that her menstrual cycle would begin. She had right up to, for example, 3 p.m. to perform her Salatul Zuhr. She delayed it by 30 minutes. She was going to pray at maybe 2 p.m. but it so happened that her menstrual cycle began, and so we say that she does not have to make qada of that salah. What happens on the opposite? The female who becomes tahir 5 minutes before Salatul Maghrib, does she have to make up for that Salatul Asr? Then the answer is yes. If she had the ability and the time span to perform 1 rak'ah of Salatul Asr, then she has to make up that salah. She has to make qada of that salah after her ghusl. So the female who becomes tahir at 5 to 6 and Salatul Maghrib enters at 6 p.m., she had 5 minutes. And 5 minutes would be well enough for her to perform 1 rak'ah of salah. So we state that she has to make qada of that Salatul Asr. And the last matter in this chapter, what about the female who suffers from some sort of vaginal discharge? Rutubatul farjil mar'a. It is not money, it is not menstruation, it is not blood. It is just some sort of wetness that occurs to her, some sort of discharge. Then note that this is something which breaks her wudu, but it is not najis. She does not have to wash her undergarments, she does not have to cleanse herself, but her wudu would break because there is release of some discharge from the private organs, and this is something which breaks the wudu. And with that, we have completed the chapter of menstruation, and we have completed the book of Tahara. For the explanation of this dars, of these durus, we had made use of the book Subul As-Salam, the explanation of Bulugh al-Maraam by Imam As-San'ani. We also made use of Tawdih al-Ahkam by Abdullah al-Bassam. Also Fath Dhil Jalali wal-Ikram, the explanation of Shaykh Uthaymeen of Bulugh al-Maraam. Minhatul Allam by Shaykh Abdullah Fawzan. Also the explanation in 4 volumes by Shaykh Salman al-Awda of the chapter of purification. And not forgetting the great Mawsu'atul Tahara, the encyclopedia of Tahara, in about 13 volumes, dealing with every aspect of Tahara. These were some of the major sources that we used in our explanation. We went through the biography of Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani. We went through the special features of this book, Bulugh al-Maraam. We learned the chapter of miyah, the chapter of water, the chapter of utensils, najasa, wudu, the invalidators of wudu, wiping over the khuffain, wiping over the scarf, wiping over normal socks. We dealt with ghusl, we dealt with tayammum, the etiquettes and manners of the Muslim relieving himself, and lastly, the chapter of menstruation. I hope and wish that everybody has benefited from these classes. I hope that you have completed your assignments. What assignment? Well, we've mentioned these assignments on the forums, and I hope that you have completed them. I hope that you study hard for the exam and do well bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. In closing, one last fa'idah that I have for you. A few months ago, the Imam of the Haram, Sheikh Salah al-Budair, was in South Africa and he graced us with his presence in Durban. In sitting with him, we had various majalis, and he had mentioned in one of his lessons that the statement in poetry of the scholars of the past, Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, Imam Shafi'i, and Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, showing the importance of following adillah, showing the importance of the student of knowledge, seeking out this knowledge, seeking out the proofs from the Quran and the Sunnah. And he mentioned in poetry, قال أبو حنيفة الإمام لا ينبغي لمن له إسلام أخذا بأقوال حتى تعرض على الحديث والكتاب المرتضى ومالك إمام دار الحجرة قال وقد أشار نحو الحجرة كل الكلام منه ذو قبول ومنه مردود سوى الرسول والشافعي قال لهم إن رأيتم قولي مخالفا لما رويتم فاضربوا بقولي الجدار قولي مخالفا لأخبار وأحمد قال لهم لا تكتبوا عني بل أصل ذلك أطلبوا دينك لا تقلد الرجال حتى ترى أولاهم المقالة. He mentioned this in one of his sittings. Later on, when I sat with him privately, I asked him, what is the source of this poetry? Because I had listened to it from the tape of Sheikh Abdul Aziz As-Sadhan in his explanation of the Lamiyya of Ibn Taymiyyah. And I had taken note of this and memorized it, but I never found the source of this poetry. And then he mentioned, if you open the book Sal Sabil, which is a book of ahadith dealing with the book of Hanbali fiqh, Zad al-Mustaqni, he states that the author had placed this poetry, these lines of poetry, in the muqaddimah, in the introduction. Although it has nothing to do with the book, but that's the place that one would find the source of this. What does these lines of poetry mean? قال أبو حنيفة الإمام لا ينبغي لمن له إسلام. Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah stated that it's not becoming on anybody who has Islam أخذا بأقوالي حتى تعرض على الحديث والكتاب المرتضى, that he accepts all my statements before putting it before the Quran and the Sunnah. ومالك إمام دار الحجرة, and Imam Malik, the Imam of Dar al-Hijra of Medina, قال وقد أشار نحو الحجرة, he pointed to the enclosure of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. كل الكلام منه ذو قبول ومنه مردود سوى الرسول. Everybody's statements are accepted and rejected except the one who is in there, except the one in that grave, meaning the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. والشافعي قال لهم إن رأيتم قولي مخالفا لما رويتم. And Imam al-Shafi'i said, if you see my statements going against that which you have reported, فاضربوا بقولي الجدار قولي مخالفا لأخبار. Take my statements and throw it against the wall, because my statements go against the akhbar, the news from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. وأحمد قال لهم لا تكتبوا عني بل أصل ذلك أطلبوا. And Imam Ahmad rahimahullah said, وأحمد قال لهم لا تكتبوا عني. He said, do not copy down and write down everything from me. بل أصل ذلك أطلبوا. But the basic rule is that you search and you investigate. دينك لا تقلد الرجال. With regards to your religion, you do not follow every single man. حتى ترى أولاهم المقالة. Until you see whose statements are closest to the Quran and the Sunnah, whose statements are the correct statements. And with that, inshallah, we will end off the series, the explanation of the book of Tahara, 10 chapters that we have covered. I hope and wish that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala records our sittings and whatever we had learnt in our scales of good deeds. Allahumma allimna ma yanfa'una wanfa'na bima 'allamtana innaka anta al-alimul hakim. O Allah, increase our knowledge with that which is beneficial for us, and do not make this knowledge a proof against us on Yawm al-Qiyamah. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. جزاك الله خيرا. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
أشرقت نفسي بنور من فؤادي حينما رددت يا رب العباد وانتشت روحي وصار الدمع يجري. يا إلهي خذ بقلبي للرشاد. أشرقت نفسي بنور من فؤادي حينما رددت يا رب العباد. وانتشت روحي وصار الدمع يجري. يا إلهي خذ بقلبي للرشاد. أشرقت نفسي بنور من فؤادي حينما رددت يا رب العباد.